Hi everyone, this is Amanda Ellis and I'm making a follow-up video to one that I made yesterday on January the 4th, 2018. This is a video on January the 5th, 2018, and I want to pick up some points that I made yesterday with regard to Donald Trump. And as soon as I say his name, I've got like a little nervous tick in my eye that's been going for the last 24 hours since I started to try to understand his energy. And it's funny actually, because I was thinking, I don't actually feel very stressed out at the moment. I feel quite chilled, quite happy with, my little world. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm okay. I feel as I'm going into the year strong. So it's like, why have I suddenly got this tick? And I'm realising it's his. It's going again. And of course, ticks are the body's way of being able to release pent up energy that can't be expressed, that hasn't been channeled in the right way. And yesterday we looked at Donald Trump and we looked at the state of, we started to look at the state of his health. And I sort of took myself out of it quite quickly because I didn't feel very comfortable in it. But Metatron is saying to me today, into the breach again. Where did that saying come from? He wants me to go back there. And I feel strong enough to do it today. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go back in and have a look at Trump. And because I've already got some more guidance that's come through anyway before I even do that. Lessons basically for all of us at a collective level. What is it we're supposed to be learning here? And it feels as though there's some new stuff coming through which I haven't personally read anybody else talking about yet. So we're going to do that. Maybe just have a quick look at my other video just to get yourself up to speed if you haven't. I think I started talking about Trump at about, 35 minutes in, something like that. It's about nearly an hour video, so it's towards the second half. I've also already pulled some cards because I wanted to speed up the video a little bit. I've pulled 2 cards for Trump and I've also pulled 2 cards for Melania, his wife. Very interesting. So let me just read or explain what I've actually written down here on a piece of paper. This is information that's come in overnight from Metatron, and I'm going to interpret it in my own way. Metatron and Sandalphon are asking us to, well, firstly, let's go back a step. Firstly, they are congratulating us on the progress that we have made as a collective in terms of coming to a better understanding and a better management of our response to Donald Trump, who was always put there to stir the pot, to cause division and polarity, as I explained yesterday. So there was always going to be a reaction, and we've had that. And it was interesting because when I posted the video yesterday, there are certain subjects you know that you're going to talk about, and I make a joke of it these days. I sort of just say, okay, it's time to put the helmet on, be ready for the attacks that are going to come, because social media can be a very weird place. And certainly a year ago, if you'd talked about Donald Trump online, you would have been met by a barrage of abuse. In particular, people wanting to convert you to their perspective. Whether they were a Democrat, whether they were Republican. It was all about, no, you need to understand. You don't get it. Hear my view. My view is the right view. Either defending him or standing up for him. And it was very tiresome, actually. Very tiresome for everybody, including the ones who were making the comments. This isn't necessarily people that have commented on my videos, by the way. It was just things that I was observing out there. We'll roll forward a year, and the video I put out yesterday, I am, and Metatron is, just really impressed with the level of wisdom and intellect and reasoned response when we mention his name again. And what Metatron is saying is it shows that we've all made progress. Sure, he may still push our buttons. I used the word circus yesterday because there is a huge circus going on around him, and that is going to continue. And I'll come back to that word circus because there's something to be said about that. And yes, so we can still be triggered, but I'm really noticing a change, and it is to be applauded in the way that us as light workers have been able to evolve over the past year to still maybe not like what he stands for, but to be able to see the higher perspective. And equally, not have to get into that exchange of, you said this, I said that, you said, you know, the whole tit for tat thing. I really noticed it and really welcomed it and applauded it, and so did the archangels. And I've noticed it on a few topics recently. We're shifting as a consciousness. Again, if you'd mentioned Christ consciousness a couple of years ago, same thing. Put on your helmet, wait for the flak, you know. I know it's still out there, but it's so much reduced. Mary Magdalene, again, crikey, okay, I'm going to talk about this. Expect the back. No, it's not happening. And it is so refreshing. So I want to say, namaste, honestly. The divine in me sees the divine in you because we have done that work together. And I know, I'm a grounded person. I know that if I go and stand, if I went and stood on a street corner and said this stuff in various parts of the world, I would still have things thrown at me. Completely get that. But we're a community here on this channel, and we're leading lights, and we're trying to raise the consciousness. This is what it's all about. And so when we start to make improvement, and when we start to have a more measured, reasoned response to something that has come in the form of Trump to absolutely push our buttons, including us as light workers, well done, everybody. That's the first thing I want to say, you know. I also feel it in myself as well, by the way. I don't want that to come across as condescending because I've been on this journey with you. You know, I live in somebody made a comment yesterday on my channel, you know, how do you do this spiritual work living in a family? Maybe I'll address that in another video, because I absolutely live in a normal family with differing political opinions. And I'm talking about my wider family as well, not just the people I physically live with. You know, I come from a family with differing political opinions, and, you know, sure, the TV can go on in our house and the 10 o'clock news comes on and something's happened, like it did yesterday with Trump and Barron. And it's like your first response can be, oh, good grief, you know, what the hell's happening now? What's he done now? But that's the first response. It's not actually, the truth, and we know that. It's really interesting. We can have a first response, but it's almost like a habit. It's like an old habit that's just coming up because we're so used to maybe behaving in a 3D way. And it's okay to have that first response, but then you sink into the deeper response, the higher response, and that's coming much more to the fore. But I still live with people who have all sorts of opinions and say all sorts of things, and some of them aren't particularly spiritual, you know, and it's good. It actually keeps us grounded. And I want to come back to this point about being grounded, because one of the first things Metatron was saying to me about Donald Trump and the fact that so many now are getting it, you know, that, yeah, absolutely, he was here, as I said in the video yesterday, to bring things up to be healed, to look at the underbelly. Well, you know, some of us, myself included, knew that a year ago, but it was like a bit like a lone voice and people didn't want to hear it. But people are now appreciating that point. But it's almost as though Metatron's saying we're in danger now of almost going to the other extreme. So from having been a pantomime villain, don't fall into the trap of suddenly seeing him as the greatest light worker that ever trod the earth. Okay? Because that isn't reality either. Sure, he's doing things to help raise consciousness by looking at the dark. But the sad thing is that those that sign up to do that, those that play with the dark, what's the thing? I actually said it to my husband last night when we were watching the news. It's the thing about you, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you go into the darkness, it's very easy to get tainted by that darkness. I would almost say it's probably impossible to not get tainted or affected by that level of scooping up the most scummy, horrible stuff from society and to bring it back up. If you take the analogy I used yesterday about that great big heap of, I'm not going to call it manure today, I'm going to call it like dirty washing. You know, and if your job was literally just to get all the dirty laundry out of all the dirty baskets across the world, you yourself would become contaminated by the dirt, by the grease, by the stains that you were picking up and plonking there for wider society to deal with. Okay? So, yes, he's doing light work, but don't fall into the trap of having an ungrounded view of that. There are everybody on this planet, really, is doing some form of light work. And that might sound weird, but remember, it's the whole thing about duality, light and dark. And if you take it down to a very personal level in your own life, the person that usually has hurt you the most or betrayed you the most is actually the one who is giving you the greatest gift to wake up. That's what Trump basically is doing. But yet you wouldn't often look at that person in your life and think, wow, what an amazing light worker, thank you. Let's listen to everything they have to say and everything that they do. You would just acknowledge the gift that they've given you, but you wouldn't want to get too close to the level of darkness that they might have thrown upon you. And I'm thinking an example here, and I can't tell the story because it's personal, not to me, but to a friend of mine who I think will be watching this. And I think she'll know who she is. She moved to a different country and it's all gone wrong. She's been stabbed in the back, betrayed in a very, very difficult way, a very challenging way. And I tell you what, she's one of the toughest light workers out there because she's got back on her feet and she's rebuilding her life. I know her well enough to know she hasn't gone into self-pity mode. And I also know her well enough to know that she's looking at the person or situation that's done that to her and realising it was wake-up call. It was a chance for her to shine even brighter in contrast to the darkness that the other situation has put her into. It's the same analogy with what we're dealing here with Trump. So let's just be balanced, guys, okay? Let's not go from pantomime villain to hero. Remember we had that card about balance yesterday? It's so important to be balanced in our attitude and our consciousness when we are looking at duality. Don't go from one extreme to the other. An analogy Metatron gave me as well with regard to Trump having got in there and, you know, got all the dirty laundry out of the bins and plonked it there for society to look at, is he gave me the analogy of being an undercover cop. Now, not all undercover cops are like this, because of course there are great undercover cops who do a great job, you know, get in there amongst the real nasty criminals and get out again and they're untainted. But it is also a well-known phenomenon that sometimes you can be an undercover cop and go into the murkiest part of society and absolutely you get tainted by it. You get turned, you know, or it doesn't end well, basically. So that was another analogy that was given to me. The circus that is around him. And it's really around him at the moment as I record this. I think today is the day they publish the book. Is it Steve Barron or Bannon? I don't know. His book anyway, his expose on life in the White House. And it's turning nasty, it's turning vicious. There is a huge circus now around this presidency, around this man. Two things to say. In a way, yeah, Trump is the one who's put himself there. But I'm seeing him very much as a caged lion. And I think he is Leo, isn't he? He must be Leo with all that hair. He's a caged lion in a circus. And it's as though we now are in danger of attending the circus, lining up to see the caged animal, and poking it with a stick to provoke it. And if you did that in a circus, it would be cruel. It would be really cruel to do that. So don't do that to Trump. He is down, okay? I'm hearing he's not beaten. He's actually quite a strong guy, despite his health problems. But what you don't do is you don't poke the caged animal. I'm hearing Metatron say you set it free. Let me just write that down. Might come back to that. I still maintain he doesn't want to be there anymore. I said that months ago. He came in to do the job of getting all the dirty laundry out into that big heap. It's not his job. It was never part of his job to clear it up. His job was just to put it there. And then I think he will walk away. Now, whether he walks away because he's forced to walk away, whether he chooses to walk away, or whether his health makes him walk away or takes him away, that's a different matter. But he's not the one who is meant to clean it up. He was just the one who was meant to come in, stir the pot, create the division. I'll come back to that. And then it's for somebody else to come in. Remember the thing in yesterday's video, we were talking about the understudy. I'm not quite sure who the understudy is. Doesn't necessarily feel that it's whoever the deputy is within the presidency. I don't even know who that is. Should know. Name will come to me after I've made this probably. We'll see, won't we? I want to show you some cards now. Oh no, before I do that, I want to just say something else. The other thing about the circus is I've written the word drama down. And a big thing for us as light workers, and Metatron teaches this very, very strongly, is that we are asked to step away from drama. We have to rise above drama in our personal lives. We have to rise above drama in the collective. There's another psychic medium out there called Danielle Agnew. I don't particularly follow her, but she's on my Facebook feed from time to time. And she said something very pertinent yesterday. Basically, she was answering questions from her clients who were saying, why are you not talking about Trump? Why have you not said anything for the last year? I haven't said a lot for really a while either. And she said, and I agree with this, she said, I haven't said anything because I said almost all that was meant to be said a year ago. And I was triggered by him. And so what I've done is I've gone into my own backyard, my own life, and I've cleared up my own mess, my own dirty pile of laundry, effectively. Because you can only be triggered by somebody if at some level there's something within yourself that still hasn't been healed. He reflects us. We can't get away from the fact that he reflects us. Light and dark. We are all light and dark. We are dualistic animals. And yes, we are animals as well as spirit, living on a dualistic planet. He reflects us. And so she's gone away and she's done healing on herself. I thought, yeah, credit to you. Absolutely. Rather than get involved in the circus, in the drama. And it's so easy to get caught up in that circus and drama. Metatron's saying remove yourself from it. Doesn't mean you're not aware of what's happening. I personally think it is part of our responsibility to know what is going on in the world. I'm not one of these light workers who thinks, let's just bury our head in the sand and I don't want to know. I do want to know. But the test is, I want to know, but then I don't want to have to sink into the drama, the trauma of whatever it is that I'm reading about. So again, Trump is bringing in a really important lesson for us to step away from the drama. He's right in the middle of it. That's why he wants to get the hell out of it. That's why he's tired and becoming sick. We don't have to put ourselves there. I was actually, I did a session with somebody a couple of days ago linked to some level 1 work. And I hope she won't mind me saying this, I don't think she will, but one of the questions she asked me was, as a light worker, how do I stop myself feeling so drained when I see something in the wider collective and I want to heal it? And the guidance from Metatron, it was very, very clear. And what he said is, he said, stop putting yourself in the war zone. Stop putting yourself, whether it's in the refugee camp, whether it's in Syria, whatever it is around the world that troubles you and your heart wants to heal. He says, stop putting yourself there right in the middle of the war zone. Physically, you don't have to do that. All you have to do, and it seems so simple, which is why people think it can't work, but it does, is you call on the big guns, you call on the archangels, you call on the dragons as well, who are great purifiers of negative energy. You send them. We live on a planet where they have to receive instruction from us because we have free will. And so you don't put yourself there. You don't astral travel into Syria and see what you can mop up. Well, you can if you want, but you'll end up exhausted. You use your divine power and light to send forth and command the help that is available from the greater, higher realms to flood into this planet. Okay, so that applies just as much to the whole drama and the circus around what's going on in America as it does to other places around the world as well. You don't send yourself into the war zone. That was very strong advice this week. Let me show you now the cards that I drew for him. And then I'm going to go back into his energy and I'm going to have a look at his health and prognosis in terms of what is to come. I will say before I look at the cards though, I always filter. When I'm channeling, I'm aware, I am aware that I'm still here, even though Metatron may be coming through me. And he allows me to filter. He allows me to question. I think it's very important to do that. And there was one moment in yesterday's video, the first thing I said about Trump was when I went into his body, I felt that he had lead boots on, he couldn't move. But I also saw a lead coffin. And that's why I filtered it out, because I thought, hold on, what does that mean? And what Metatron is saying to me today, he's not wanting to talk about death because they don't do that. It's not for anybody to know when anybody will ever pass over. It just isn't, okay? It's not morally right. So I asked him this morning, I said, why was I shown the lead coffin? And he said, the interpretation he gave me, all he would say to me, is that the coffin represented being unable to to have been robbed of his power, basically. Unable to move. Effectively, if you're still alive and you're lying in a lead coffin, you can't do anything. You can't do anything. You can't walk, you can't move. And I think it was particularly related to the comments earlier in the week, which had been about the nuclear button, you know? He said something along the lines of, my nuclear button's bigger than your nuclear button, to the North Korean leader. You know, it's got to that level of infantile behaviour and speech. And yes, absolutely it's dangerous. But the lead coffin represented, he's not going to be able to do anything. He will be prevented from doing anything. Doesn't mean he physically dies. I'm not even going to go there. But what it does mean is he's incapacitated. Okay? Now, yesterday for Trump, we had the God of Battle, didn't we? Today, a card flew out of the deck, quite similar, and it's Thor, the God of Action. And it's funny because I've just been talking about the fact he doesn't actually have the ability at the moment to do much. But this is his frustration, because this is what he wants to be, you know? And he came in very much with that whole energy of shaking things up, wanting to change things. I feel that was a genuine intention. You know, whether you agreed with his policies or you didn't agree with his policies, he absolutely had this energy of Thor, the God of action, lightning, you know, wanting to crack the whip, wanting to make substantial, radical change. Next to it is the energy of rebirth, death and rebirth, the phoenix that rises from the ashes. And at the moment, we're in the ashes stage. We're in the ashes stage. Melania, I will just say now, before I forget to do it, I pulled two cards for her. Maybe you're not surprised to see this. I wasn't. Codependency. Codependency. And interesting, because maybe it's obvious that certainly at some point in the relationship, maybe even now, there was a dependency from her towards him. I think it was financial. It was about finance and power. But don't forget, codependency runs two ways. So he needed her just as much as she needed him. He always needs a woman in his life to try to give him something that is eluding him. But it's the card of codependency. It's not ever healthy to see that in any relationship. And do you remember yesterday we had this card of selfhood, which shows a woman who is absolutely in her own power and has come out into the open. We were talking about coming out into the open, you know, being at peace with who you are, being able to show who you are to the world, you know, independent, strong, free. It's upside down. She doesn't feel any of that. She's completely locked in to this relationship that is damaging for both of them. I actually quite like her energy. Might try and channel her in a moment, but let's look at Trump first. Let's go into Trump. Let's have some water. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, like yesterday, I'm going to put myself in Trump's shoes and try and get a feel for how he is feeling. I'm just going to put some spiritual protection around myself before I do this. Let's call in Archangel Metatron. And I just ask Metatron that you use me as a channel here to help us as a society, understand this man a little better. So, becoming Trump. Very aware that as I make this today on the 5th, that his energy is going to be particularly volatile because of the book being released. How is he feeling? He is like the child who is throwing his toys out of the pram in relation to this book. And I want to do this. I don't want to play the game anymore. I don't like the rules of this game. I'm going to make up my own rules. It's not fair. I'm going to cheat. It's not fair. I don't even want to speak to you. Why should I speak to you? You don't listen to me. You don't even like me. I thought you liked me. You said you liked me. I just want to go away. I want to sit and I want to eat and I want to watch a film. I don't want this. Why do I need this? Shut down. Just want to shut down. Don't want to play the game. I want to go behind a closed door and slam it. Fuck you. Other people around him. Who's helping him? Other people around him. People are trying to help him. I'm seeing lots of people like knocking at the door, trying to get to him. Doesn't want to know. Trays of food left outside the door. It's going to be on his terms. Doesn't like to feel out of control. Doesn't like it when people turn against him. I didn't sign up for this, is what he's saying. He's forgotten that he did sign up for this. Other people are trying to help. No one knows what to do. Chaos. But the heartbeat of America is strong and carries on regardless. Where the power should be sitting, within the White House, is being transferred to the people. At grassroots levels, in many parts of the country, There is great strength and great resilience. The president's weakness is bringing strength back to the people. As the leader is not strong, they become strong instead. But it feels peaceful. It doesn't feel violent. Good people across the states, quietly getting on with their day-to-day life, keeping the wheels turning, keeping the economy running, looking after each other, looking to the horizon for who is to come to help. Upon the horizon, I just see white light. I don't actually see a figure yet. But the light is a promise of better days to come, light coming back into the country. Back to the White House, back to the president, back to Trump. Let's take Metatron into the room where he's locked himself away. Metatron doesn't even ask for the door to be unlocked. He just enters. And he places himself in front of Donald Trump. And he just stands there with his light. And Donald wants to go towards it, but he doesn't know how. He feels pretty wretched. He doesn't know any other way. And Metatron says, I know, I understand that. You can still come to me. And I am going to stay with you. And I will stay for as long as it takes. Because you are part of this ascension journey. I'm still seeing them as separate. I'm seeing Trump here. He's not standing up, he's curled up a bit, crouching. But he's very aware of the light that is here, which is Metatron. He feels ashamed, but he can't let anyone see that. He wants his mother. His mother's not been brought to him. I don't know what the story was there. So a female guide comes in instead. And it's Mary. Mother Mary. And she says, I love all. I love all, including you. You are loved. Let's just allow that healing energy in, because it actually heals not just him, but it heals the collective. Crying. And let's ask to be taken forward 6 months in time. We're going to use the air elemental to take us forward 6 months in time. That noise is my hamster. Bring it back down to earth, Metatron. 6 months in, 6 months forward. So we're into the summer months. How are things? I'm not sure he's even there. I'm looking for him. The White House feels completely different. A lot of white energy. There's been a big clear out. I'm not seeing him there. I'm not actually sure where the hell he is. Where is he? Where is he? They won't tell me. I don't know where he is. All I can see is a completely, all I can see and all I can feel is a completely different energy by the summer months. There's been a clear out. So who is there? Sorry guys, I can't get it. It's not being shown to me. I'm being shown a closed door. I know behind that closed door is whoever is running the country. Maybe it is still Trump. Maybe he's just transformed. Maybe he's had a rebirth. I don't know. But behind that door is a lot of white energy. And all I can say is it feels much more positive. The chaos has gone. Time is a hard thing to predict with spirit. So don't hold me to the fact I'm saying July or August, but I asked 6 months hence. Anything else to say, Metatron? 6 months hence. Six months hence. America. I'm sorry, not being shown. Maybe it's too early to look at that. You don't need to know that yet, he's saying. Because that's the next stage of the journey. Whatever that is, whatever the next 6 months is, wherever you are, wherever we are collectively in 6 months, we will look at it in 6 months or 5 months. Right now, it's about listening to what just came through. We're going to go through a great big story with him. The only analogy I can liken it to And he's a completely different character to this person, so it's a completely different story, completely different purpose that this person had. But I'm thinking about Princess Diana, who I don't know how old, I was 14, 15 when she married Prince Charles, and I felt like I grew up with her, and I experienced all of her, it felt like I experienced all of her life, like many people around the world, you know, all the ups and downs and the dramas, because there was circus around her as well. I felt like I lived it, I breathed it, right to the end. And then, of course, she did die, and I grieved. There was a opening chapter, a middle chapter, and an end chapter. And I, like many of you, went through the whole thing. That's what it feels like with him. Doesn't mean he has to die, but it just means that it's a story. It's a story that we are living through, and I'm being told we're lucky to be living through it. We have had so many incarnations where nothing has ever changed. Everything has stayed the same. These are interesting times at the very least. Just have a final look at his health. Because I was shown blood pressure yesterday. Blood pressure and eyes, Donald Trump's health. Donald Trump's health. When I was channeled yesterday about his eyes and I was doing this, I'm now hearing he's blind to what is coming. He is blind to what is coming. You could also say that about this latest chapter today with this book that's just come out. He's just not a well man. He's not a well man at any level of being. So we leave him in Metatron's hands. And we leave him in Mother Mary's hands. Let's just have a quick look at Melania as she's here. I'll choose a different spray for her. Let me just clear myself of Trump. Melania. Funny, isn't it? Well, it's not funny, but if you look at the card, Codependency, it shows a loving bridal couple. But can you see there's a chain? There's a chain there with the flowers. Just have a little look at what's going on with Melania. I'm drawn to Violet for her, so I'm feeling she's actually quite depressed. What's going on in her world? She doesn't know whether she is coming or going. She's resilient though. She's standing back and watching things unfold. She's a very interesting mix because I believe her heart is in the right place. And I think she's got a nice open heart. But she's quite dualistic as well. There's a ruthlessness to her. What can we learn from her? Or is there any message linked to her? Melania. Melania. She's more, I want to use the word obsessed, but she's more, yeah, she's more obsessed with Ivanka than Trump. She's worked Donald out. She knows the way he works. She knows what makes him tick. Not saying she particularly likes it, but she gets it. She hasn't worked Ivanka out. So there's a mental battle going on there. She's going to be around for a while. 6 months' time for her. I see her arranging flowers in a house, white house, near the ocean. She's pottering. She's okay. The weight of the world is off her shoulders. She's got music on in the background. Piano. Now you can interpret that many ways. It could just be that, I think they probably lead quite separate lives anyway. It could just mean that she's leading an even more separate life and she's just got more of her own space around her. We'll see. Let's pull a final card and then I'm going to close it. And then we'll have had a good look at Trump, won't we, anyway, for the beginning of the year. Final card. Healing. It's the card of healing. Energy. It's being sent to somebody's heart. And I suspect that's Trump. Because remember yesterday we had the card which talked about the fact that he had gone off into battle and had to harden his heart, so he wasn't in touch with his heart. And of course, if you're not in touch with your heart, it can lead to a lot of physical heart problems. Okay? Here, there is green light being sent to the heart. I feel that's him. And it's a message for us. Because the more that we can sink into compassion and send healing to the shadow, to what triggers us, to the drama, to the circus, the more that we send love, the more that we're going to end up with rebirth. He started this process of transformation, this process of rebirth for the United States. He doesn't have the energy to finish it. Collectively now, you have to come together to heal what has been revealed, to bring in the right person to create a new reality. It's not easy. It's not going to happen overnight. But I'm really encouraged by that beautiful energy I felt when I was tuning into the people across America. There's a lot of good people. Long term it'll be okay. I'm going to leave it there. Namaste everybody. Lots of love. Next video I make, now we've got Trump out of the way, is I'm going to look at your personal lives. Let's just have a look at what's going on over the next few weeks. But I'll do that. Might do it at the weekend, otherwise it'll be on Monday. Okay, lots of love. Remember to step away from the drama. Don't poke the caged animal in the circus. Sink into compassion and keep a balanced view on all this, okay? It's what's needed. Much love, everyone.